It's production time. I'm Reid Stefan, realest puppet in the game. Today, I'm taking a closer look at the Volt 2 interface by Universal Audio to determine if this is the best budget audio interface for music producers, audio engineers, or anybody who needs a small, portable, and affordable travel setup. I'm going to be taking a closer look at all the features, inputs, outputs, and hidden gems inside this interface, and also comparing it head-to-head with one of the most popular interfaces at the same price point to see how it matches up. But before we actually listen to this interface, let's talk about all the features that it has to offer. The number 2 in Volt 2 is referring to the amount of inputs. As you can see on the front, there's a mic input 1 and mic input 2, which is also a combo jack for you to insert a guitar 1/4 inch or even a stereo pair of 1/4 inches to connect a keyboard. Just beside it, you have 2 gain knobs, one for each input, which have a very nice, smooth resistance to them. Feels very high quality, definitely not cheap plastic like you often find in budget audio stuff. And then to the right of that, you have the vintage button. And I really consider this the sauce button of the whole entire interface, because what this does is it enables the UA610 preamp circuitry that's built into this box as a hardware mic preamp in your interface. And Universal Audio has really upped the game of what you can get inside an affordable box. And then following that is the instrument button, which is how you switch between either microphone or instrument input. Next, we have 48-volt phantom power, which is there for the microphones that require a little extra electricity to run. And then finally, another favorite feature of mine, the direct button. This sends low latency direct monitoring back to your headphones. Finally, you have the monitor knob, which controls your speaker volume, and you get one headphone jack with, again, a very high build quality, really standard of what you'd expect from Universal Audio. Flipping it over to the back, you have your power switch, 5 volts power for extra electricity to power all the circuitry inside this box, or you could power it off of your USB-C bus using a Thunderbolt 3 cable, USB-C cable, whatever you want. Now, this doesn't come included with the unit, which is a little bit of a drawback in my opinion, but in reality, that lets you customize your cable length for exactly what you need in your setup. Next, this is a really special set of inputs and outputs that you don't have in most other interfaces, MIDI. If you use a classic analog synthesizer and want to connect it to your DAW as a MIDI controller, or maybe use your synthesizer to control your DAW. And finally, your high-quality left and right speaker output. And those are all of the features and ports on the Volt 2. But now I'm really curious to hear how this actually sounds. So let's hook up our mic, get our levels set, and record some demo vocals on the Volt 2 as well as the Scarlett, and compare them side by side to see if we can hear a difference in input sound quality.
Find me in the back of the room with the boom, what you think about that? Cause I know that you want it, I do too if I'm honest, yeah. L-O-V with the E in my body's the key. Open up if you do it right, and hot. What's up, babe? I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Find me in the back of the room with the boom, what you think about that? Cause I know that you want it, I do too if I'm honest, yeah. L-O-V with the E in my body's the key. Open up if you do it right, it's getting hot. What's up, babe? I'm sorry, I'm not sorry.
For me, this was an easy decision, but I'm curious to hear what you guys thought below in the comments. I feel like the Volt 2 had more natural warmth to it. The Scarlett felt a little bit digital, bright, and harsh, whereas the Volt 2 felt natural, warm, and much more smooth and pleasant to listen to. We recorded these samples with the vintage button enabled in the Volt 2 and the air button enabled in the Focusrite to give these both what I think sounded the best compared against the best. And in my opinion, the microphone preamps and analog to digital converters inside of the interface sound better in the Volt 2. The Scarlett came very close, but as someone who listens to professional vocal chains all day, the Volt 2 just sounds like a much more professional starting point. Speaking of analog to digital conversion, let's talk about the opposite, digital to analog. That means how good do your headphones sound and how good do your speakers sound. I'm going to start with the headphones and use my Audio-Technica ATH M50X, my favorite pair ever, to see if I can hear a difference in sound quality of the headphone output and headphone amps inside of both of these interfaces. I'm going to start with the Volt 2 and take a listen. And now switch to the Scarlett, get the levels the same, and check out the same track. I noticed as I was turning the volume knob, the Volt 2 had a little bit smoother range towards the bottom of the lower volumes, whereas the Scarlett seemed to just kind of cut off before I got the knob all the way to the left. Both of these get my headphones going way louder than I would ever need them to. The Volt 2 just sounded ever so slightly less digital and clear, and a little bit more stereo separation, whereas the Scarlett 2 made everything feel slightly less wide and also a little bit less separation between the lows, mids, and highs. Now let's switch over to the monitors and see how well the speaker outputs of these interfaces can power my ATCs. Now these are really high-end studio monitors, so if there is a difference, we should be able to hear it, but let's do the speaker test and see if we can hear a difference. This again felt very similar to the headphone test where I heard better separation between the lows, mids, and highs, as well as stereo separation in the Volt 2. I know it may have been hard for you to hear it through the microphone and YouTube compression, but this is something that you're just going to have to hear for yourself. I'm going to give the slight advantage to the Volt 2 for this, but they were again very close. Now we've extensively tested the hardware and its inputs and outputs and various features, but let's talk a little bit about software. What comes with this interface? The Volt 2 includes a huge package of plugins, effects, and instruments to get you started. And not just any effects, software from the biggest brands like Marshall, Ableton Live, Melodyne, Lexicon, virtual instruments, virtual drummers, bassists, and labs by Spitfire Audio. They've really made it so there's no excuse to not make music and get creative with your Volt 2. This is an extremely well-rounded package, and the best part is you can buy this for just under $200. Some stores have it as low as $189.99, which comes in at about $10 more than what you can get the Scarlett for at $179.99. But I think for the better quality that you get on the inputs, outputs, and software, it's a really easy choice for me. The Volt 2 is the best budget interface under $200. So if you're a music producer, audio engineer, or anybody who needs a light, portable, and affordable travel setup, the Volt 2 by Universal Audio is my #1 recommendation. I want to hear your thoughts on this comparison below. My name is Reid Stefan, realest puppet in the game, and I'll catch you guys next time in another tutorial. Peace out.